the end of verse 3, it says they are to be teachers of good things. This is the fourth element, if you're keeping track of these elements that Paul is telling Titus about. The fourth type of godly behavior in the Titus 2 woman is spiritual integrity. A godly woman will live what they teach. In other words, they go beyond that. In fact, I remember when I was in seminary, they used to teach us. They said, don't try and live up to your preaching. Preach what you're living. It's much harder that way. Deal with your own life while you're going through the text so that you can speak about something that you are, by the grace of God, living. That's a Titus 2 woman. They speak what they're living. They live what they're teaching. They train others in the pattern they have learned. Their walk speaks louder than their talk. Their life is daily placed under God's control in all areas. They daily give their tongues, their appetites, their habits. They do not overindulge themselves. They are not overweight or gluttons. They are not pleasure hungry. They are not malicious talkers. These godly older women are noble in everything. Their life lived is a lesson to be watched. They're not perfect. They're so aware of their imperfections that they have surrendered them consciously to the grace of God for His power to teach them to deny that. And then they share with the younger woman how they're learning and have learned to deny those areas in their lives. Paul always stressed preaching and teaching what he was already living. In fact, look back at 1 Timothy. Go back one book to 1 Timothy 4 and verse 16, because we always see this pairing of what you preach and how you live, always going side by side. 1 Timothy 4 and verse 16, this is what Paul's instruction to Timothy, another young pastor in an even larger setting in Ephesus. He says to him, 1 Timothy 4:16, pay close attention to yourself first, and then to your what? Yeah, your teaching. What comes first in God's sight? Pay close attention to your lifestyle, your behavior, then to your teaching. It doesn't matter how great your teaching, how long your doctrinal statement, if your life just abnegates and abrogates and denies everything that you say you believe. Pay close attention to yourself and to your teaching. Persevere in these things. For as you do this, you will ensure salvation both for yourself and those who hear you. Titus was to encourage these older women to develop a ministry of teaching younger women what is good. Now back to Titus 2 in verse 3. Younger women with children were to keep their primary focus at home, but the older women would do well to reach outside their home and share what they had learned with those who would profit from it most. So see, these younger women, their primary sphere and role and priority of ministry was the home, but the older women were to, because their home was established, because their home was in order, because their children were generally raised and grown up, were to be moving out of their home and visiting and ministering in the home of these younger women. And so they were to teach them what is good. A godly woman teaches by her life what is good in God's sight. She carefully chooses the better part. Do you remember Mary and Martha, that whole scene with Jesus? And remember what Jesus said about Mary? She hath chosen the what? The better. Nothing wrong with serving. But serving and being all flustered and tattered and running around, as my country mother used to always say, like a chicken with its head cut off. It's awful to see that. That's a very vivid sight because we did that, and raised chickens. Ugh, what an awful thing. Don't run around like a chicken with its head cut off. It's to have this godly older woman saying, you can bring your life into order. You can have a peaceful, serene home. And so they go into the homes and they teach them that, like Mary and Martha. They can say, as Paul did in 1 Corinthians 11:1, imitate me, because I'm imitating Christ. Isn't that a great? Paul, the sinner, the chiefest of sinners, said, I want you, Corinthians, because I'm older in Christ and in the faith than you, I want you to imitate me because I'm imitating Christ. And he shows us if the chiefest of sinners could say that. Paul was imperfect. And he confesses that. He had all the struggles. 2 Corinthians, he gives us a whole chapter of his struggles and his just temptations and all that he faced. But He says, I'm following Christ, imperfections and all, because his grace is reigning in my life. You follow me because I'm following Christ. And that's all a Titus 2 woman, Titus 2 man says in their life.